Welcome to the Redemption Podcast with your hosts, Staci
and Julia. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 7 of the Redemption Podcast. I'm your host, Julia, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Staci.
Good morning.
Good morning, Staci. And our guest today is Alice Palin, who is an expressive art therapist. We're going to be talking about Alice's unique career as an art therapist and do a little drawing prompt about taking our positive thoughts seriously. Alice, welcome to Redemption.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure having you. I think that your work is amazing, and I love the work that you do here at my house. So, but before we get started, Isaac, do we have any housekeeping?
Well, so last week was Thanksgiving week, and I think when this comes out, I'm actually in Seattle, so it's the holiday season. It's super, super busy, but we're still going to have podcasts coming out. We're still going to have some holiday-themed podcasts coming out. I think Kurt and I are doing another Christmas episode of Diag Nonsense, so that'll be fun.
Nice.
Lots of stuff to look forward to coming up in the month of December, and I think a lot of new exciting stuff coming up in January for the new year as well. So keep an eye out for that on the podcast network here at my house. We are probably still putting out Christmas lists. We are probably still putting out Christmas lists for clients. And if you want more information about how you can buy Christmas gifts for our clients, you can call my house at 907-373-4357 and get more information about what that looks like. We always appreciate those community donations for our clients' Christmas gifts. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Isaac. 'Tis the season. So welcome to Redemption, Alice. I want to talk a little bit about your background so that the audience can get to know you. How long have you been an art therapist, and how long have you dreamt of becoming a therapist?
Okay, thanks. Well, as I said, I've been developing a practice for 10 years, and actually it was quite a long time ago. I'm not going to date myself, several decades, that when I lived in California, this was during the time of a lot of community activism, and I had a job at a little community school. They called themselves the Community School for Music and Art in Mountain View, California. And they offered art experiences to the children in the community who might not otherwise get them. So that was my first introduction, and I have held on to that desire for, quite a long time. I then moved into getting a master's degree in counseling, and then my license as a licensed professional counselor. So like moments of clarity, what really made things gel for me, wanted to do expressive arts therapy, and we call it expressive arts because we draw upon the different arts, not just image making. But moments of clarity, I had a job as a career counselor at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and we did some inventories to help people identify their interests, their strengths, and the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. So the exercise was making an image of your perfect day. And that really was my very first experience with using expressive medium to let an image speak to you about, some of your interests and feelings. So that was a real moment of clarity, of actually using the process in a counseling situation. And then another real moment of clarity for really identifying and naming a positive psychology as an interest. It was at the Fairbanks, the women's shelter in Fairbanks. I was an intern there and trying to figure out what kind of activities would be of interest, to the people there. And thinking about a group and what should the theme of the group be. And I was talking with one of the women, and her 13-year-old daughter just piped up and said, "Could we please have a group where people don't come out crying?" Yeah, that really resonated with me about what I wanted my work and my groups to do, and what I wanted people to go away with some kind of a sense of self, just a little bit more positive sense of self, of hope. So that was a real moment of clarity. And then in my training and in my studies, expressive arts therapy is based on what we call the expressive therapies continuum. And it's a way of viewing experience. So we look at experience on a sensory level and on an affective level. That's just a state, an emotional state. You haven't named it yet. And then on a cognitive level, where you're thinking and labeling and evaluating things, and that's, where you would name it. An example of that is, on the sensory level, you're driving along and somebody pulls out in front of you right away. And there's that momentary shock. And that's like your first piece of information about that experience. Then it moves into
road rage.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, there's the rage in that feeling, but you haven't named it. And then you go up to the cognitive level and say, that jerk, what are they thinking of? And so you've labeled it. But anyway, and the idea is, if you're aware of those different levels of your experience, you're just better able to, to manage them, manage your emotions. And so those are like the real foundations, I would say, of my practice.
Wow, thank you, Alice. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate how you've developed your practice so uniquely, because I can't tell you how many counseling sessions I've been in where I left feeling worse than I went in. And for myself, I'm a very creative person, so this kind of stuff, this sort of, imagery stuff, having an experience, a new awareness, it really does help me to change my thoughts and, think about things differently and look at my life differently. So I'm very excited because we're going to be doing a drawing prompt with you today, and this is sort of an example of what you would be doing with your clients. And Staci and I have some paper in front of us and some colored pencils. I love my job. And we get to, just follow along with you. And we're going to be including the drawing prompt that we're doing today in our show notes, so that if anybody else wants to follow along with us while they're watching the episode, that they can. So I will give it back over to you, Alice.
Okay, thanks. Well, the drawing prompt, and I love it. I have to give Julia credit for the title, Taking Your Positive Thoughts Seriously. And I think before I jump into it, I'd like to show you my process. It's real brief. I had a real epiphany. It was a few years ago, and it takes a while for the different things to gel. But we'll do the drawing prompt as a start. But I wanted to give you an idea of how things gel. So I'm going to show you real briefly how I really discovered and was able to solidify the idea of having a sense of gratitude and being very aware of that, and how I can remember that and draw upon that, to help me through hard situations. And I'm going to make this real brief. Okay. And so, the story starts with, I came across a quote that really resonated with me. And it was on a label, and it was a bottle of wine, and it was called Haskap wine. And on the back it said, Haskap is the Japanese Ainu word for many gifts at ends of branches. So you can see how somebody would name their wine about that. But moving away from the wine, the quote, many gifts at the ends of branches, really resonated with me as a way to enhance my awareness. So I was out, okay, so I had that quote, and then I was out blueberry picking. And, for those of you who don't live in Alaska, berry picking is a huge part of our summer and our culture. And I was just out in beautiful meadows picking berries. And, if you pick berries, it's really fun to get a bunch of them all at once. But they're hiding under the leaves. They're gifts at the ends of branches. And so went home, and this was my very first drawing. It's a very light little pastel drawing of berries. So I thought about this image and that quote, and this is also in your drawing prompt. I let some words and phrases come to mind, just thinking about it. And so gifts at the ends of branches, and then alpine fields. I think I would change that to alpine meadows, hold blueberries to pick, joy, gratitude, unexpected pleasures, taking the time to see, bounty, sustenance. And I was reminded of small beauties that surround us. So that was my little drawing there. And you can see here I added the mountains. And so my last piece, and this is just out of my sketchbook. Let's see, here we go. I got to turn this around. Sure, here we go. You can see that. So my last piece, are the blueberries and the mountains, and alpine fields hold blueberries to pick. So that was my process, and it didn't happen instantly. So I don't want you to get discouraged if it doesn't come to you instantly with. So our prompt is, take a few moments. We'll shift gears here, and you've got your drawing materials out. So just shift gears, take a moment, and just take a couple of deep breaths. So clear your mind. And then, bring to mind something that makes you feel good. And it could be a favorite quote. This was my experience, or a memory, pleasant memory, just something that brings up a positive emotion. It might have been an interaction with something, but just focusing on that sense of feeling good, maybe feeling calm, at peace, just something, nice and balanced. And so bring that to mind. And focus on that thought, really focusing on that. And then how would you express that in an image? And so just some starts, like if you were going to give this feeling a shape, what might it be? If you were going to make some lines or marks, what kind of lines would they be? Would they be round? Would they be smooth? Would they be heavy? And you can start to play around while I'm talking. That's fine.
Oh, okay, we can start?
Yeah, oh, sure. Start anytime.
Okay.
What kind of marks would you make that would express how you feel? Would they be soft? Would they be hard? Little dots, little flecks, and just playing with lines, playing with marks. And color. If you have color, what color would it be? And then see if a image emerges, that captures your emotion. Allow yourself to let an image emerge. Don't try to hold up a goal or some expectation. Just let it come out. Play with that. If some words come to mind, you can jot them down on your paper as well, or on another one.
I knew immediately what came to my mind.
Oh, you're such a good student.
Oh, I'm a bit of an overachiever, but I've had some time to think about
I need
this.
to borrow your yellow.
Well, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought. I was going to also show you, some other things in this emergence of this idea. I've used this in workshops on well-being, and we did a series of cards. Let's see if, and so gratitude. So the gratitude that, this vine, the hidden gifts at the ends of branches, that sense of gratitude also evolved into an umbrella, the protection, that it was a protection from, on this one, the slings and arrows of the world, and I labeled them as anger and fear and negativity, all those things that work their way in. And the umbrella is gratitude, and underneath it, it was help from unexpected places. That,
Ooh. I love that
that
word
often-
unexpected
Yeah.
Mm.
for whatever reason. Have you ever heard of the word gutter flowers or a gutter flower?
No, what is that again?
A gutter flower, it's a word that I heard a couple years ago. I'll look up the definition of it. But you said unexpected, gifts or unexpected pleasures, and that's immediately what I thought of. Well, Gutter Flower is also an album by the Goo Goo Dolls, but that's just their album. So a gutter flower is a small, unexpected pleasure encountered in a daily situation, like on the street. So let's say you see a flower growing out of a sewer, or somebody, you drop $1 and somebody gives you your $1 back. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love a gutter flower. I have never heard that, but one of my favorite images is a flower or a plant that is coming up in a crack in pavement or in the sidewalk. I mean, it's actually pushed its way up through that. The power of life is just amazing.
My most favorite flower is a daisy. It's the most simplest flower, but it's so happy. And I would always play in fields of daisies when I was in Tennessee. And I have such great happy memories of those times of just plucking those petals off and being around all those daisies, making little chains and then making a little crown with the daisies. And so that's what my picture is today, is the daisy fields.
I don't have any
That's
color on
interesting.
mine yet.
Is a daisy like a symbol for you? For me, like the blueberries became a symbol. The daisy would be, a symbol. And just like the title of this show, take your positive thoughts seriously. Take your daisy symbol, seriously, as something that is a reminder of positive things. And it brings up on that sensory level just that sense of whatever it is. It could be calm, it could be reassurance, bringing that up. Because what we've learned in therapy, through research, that those experiences, remembering your positive symbol, taking the time to take some deep breaths and clear your mind, has really cumulative effects. You can feel better in the moment, but it can really help the part of you that calms you to be more active and to be really helpful and kick in, when you start feeling down or you start feeling angry, so that doesn't grab you, but your ability to manage yourself, be stronger.
I think that this time of year is especially difficult because now it's darker.
Yeah.
And I don't know about anybody else, but like my natural state of being is like depressed and negative.
Right.
So it takes a lot of effort to be proactive and like, have art projects and things to do that I look forward to that are creative, and, go tanning and things of that nature that really help in the wintertime.
And even interactive things with, if you can't get out to be with people, we're waiting for 90-mile-an-hour winds to come down my street. But if you can't get out, just interacting over Zoom, so that you don't feel so isolated or lonely, which is really exacerbated this time of year. I just read that people who feel really lonely and who isolate, they also have a much more negative view of other people,
Mm.
you know, because they're wandering around in with their own thoughts instead of actually getting out, exposing themselves to like positive experiences here. We're sharing our ideas and our experience, you know, like you know, Stacy, do I have your name right,
Yes,
Stacy?
you do.
Yes, Stacy shared, you know, about, you know, her memory of daisies, and Julia shared about a gutter flower. And so just though that kind of interaction can have, you know, benefits beyond just doing our piece and our conversation here, but in how we feel about ourselves in the world.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, thank you, Alice. I think I'm done with my
Ooh,
drawing.
do you want to share? You don't have
I
to. Would
think
you like to share it?
sure. I think why not? Can I have Isaac hold it over the camera for our audience to see?
Okay, can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so my drawing is of the view that I have in my bedroom and all of the beautiful trees that I have in my backyard. I have a really gorgeous backyard with lots of trees. And for myself, like my bed is like my cozy, safe place where, you know, I'm safe
Mm.
from the rest of the world and I can sleep and drink my coffee and read a book, or, you know, that's just my happy place because my life is so busy. That's like my retreat that I get to go to at the end of every
Wow.
day.
Okay, I want to share mine. Here you go, Isaac. Hold it up. So mine's really simple, but it's the daisies, and there's a sun up in the
Oh.
corner. So when I was young,
sun is smiling.
and the sun's smiling because the sun was always warm and friendly and smiling. So the daisies represent to me just a place of happiness and safety. I remember growing up, there was a lot of domestic violence in my home, and there was this huge daisy field behind our house. So that's where I would go to retreat, and that was my safe place, my happy place. That's where everything was beautiful and warm and safe. So I always love daisies. They make me feel that way whenever I always buy, I buy a lot of daisies and I put them in my home because it just reminds me of that feeling. So
That's beautiful. I didn't know that.
Wow.
yeah,
Those
that's
are
why
your
I
favorite.
love them so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Wow. Well, there was one other thing I wanted to show you about if we, you know, if we have time,
Sure.
to show you about how this image has my image of gratitude and gifts at many gifts at ends of branches, and being it's helped me be aware of unexpected sources for help, you know, unexpected sources, you know, of happiness. Okay. So we looked at the card and gratitude turned into an umbrella. And then I did this is a project, you know, with a employee well-being project. It was called Bowl of Light. We made little bowls and, you know, put light in them. And the story is every child is born with a perfect bowl of light. And it helps them through life, helps them learn what they need to learn to go forward in life. Well, sometimes adversities happen in people's lives and they fall into the bowl, you know, like stones. And I don't have my stones here, but there might be so many adversities that it can block out the light. But
Mm,
if you take out the stones one by one, that you'll see that the light is still there and that it was never
Mm,
extinguished.
I
that's
love
So
that.
that was
beautiful.
a really powerful story. So this is a little bowl of light, but one that I'm working on, and I hope you can see it. So here's a little bowl of light, and I have put my vine around the outside as, oh, I
Ooh.
guess you could say protection.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is still white. There are the little leaves. And then if you take a look under the leaves, there are little berries under there, you know, to be painted. Can you see that?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
And so that's another extension of um, using your metaphor, you know, the gutter flower and the daisy. And one last one. So I did a workshop uh, in out in the Aleutians. My day job is working at the Aleutian Pribilof Islands Association as an expressive arts therapist. And so we did a project out in the region, we call it, out in the Aleutian Islands. It was with teens, anti-suicide, and substance use. And this was a few years ago. And since then, these concerns have really increased alarmingly. At any rate, this is a little model of a kayak, and that's a part of the tradition of the people. They for centuries have used kayaks to go out hunting and gathering and out in the oceans. And so the idea was that the kayak was a symbol, it was a vessel for them to go through life. And we talked about well-being. And I asked them to paint their kayak with some symbols of what they would take with them. And so, of course, for me, mine was this sense of gratitude to remember that. And so you can see that my blueberry bush has evolved into a vine. Blueberries do not grow on vines, but it's evolved into a vine. And the vine represents a sense of connection. You know how vines will grow up over fences and they overlap each other and so on. And then there's three kinds of berries. There's my blueberries for gratitude, and the yellow berries and the blue and the red ones are symbols of getting along with different people, different things. So that was another application of
That is a
that.
beautiful piece.
It is.
And very applicable, especially to, where you were in Alaska. Yeah, I love that.
So like back to our title, take your positive thoughts seriously. That, they really, can evolve into foundation stones for you. Yeah.
Yes, and serve as positive reminders everywhere you go. So I bet now whenever you see a blueberry bush or branch, you think of that. You automatically, it's a symbol now for you as something positive.
Alice, I would like to talk about why it's important to have a creative outlet and how can we change our viewpoint on the purpose of having a creative outlet?
Well, I think going back to my days at the women's shelter, and I had wanted to work with, women's who were survivors of domestic violence or, childhood abuse, to find their own voice. And of course, going back in my own life, I see my mother as someone who didn't have a voice, and a lot of that was cultural and social, but also, and so that's one of my foundations too. That the art allows you to let that inner voice speak, and that's why in the prompt, I tried to emphasize just letting the color come out, letting some of the line, the movement marks, just let it come out. And
without any expectation.
Right.
There's nothing right or wrong.
Right.
And I can see how that's so therapeutic, for me too. Like you talked about your mother, had experienced abuse and domestic violence, mine too. And like I told you, the field of daisies and how that's just so calming for me. So this therapy that you do, I've never thought about doing this before. But just doing this picture today, I feel so calm and hopeful and at peace. And I want to incorporate this into my life and my kids' life too.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah. Well, I love what I do. I feel like the luckiest person in the world because as I work, I get to evolve through this process of paying attention, of taking, our positive thoughts seriously. And it doesn't mean that we're ignoring our problems, but really seeing our positive thoughts, our inner voice as a source of strength and wisdom for us.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to reiterate for our audience, because I work with most of the clients that I work with at my house are creative in some capacity. But, you know, we also tend to be perfectionists, and we get stuck in these creative ruts because we're focused on the outcome or the result of how something's going to look.
Right.
And feeling like I don't know how to get from A to Z with that. But what I've learned about, about my own creative process is that when I try to focus on the result of how I want something to look, or, whatever, I completely lose the point, because it really is all about the process of, playing with, colors and textures and, depending on whatever medium that you have. And that most of the work that I do that makes me happy is when I'm just playing around. And then I just have these beautiful, like, aha moments. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well. So Alice, where can we find you? If people want to learn more about you, see some of your work, reach out to you, schedule a session with you.
Well, I would love to hear from people. I am in the beginning stages of setting up a private practice. So I am starting.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. I'm starting with outreach into the community, and I'm doing monthly art and well-being workshops. There's a place in Palmer. I'm in Palmer, Alaska, the Art Cafe, and I am starting with some art and well-being workshops. So in December, I will show you what we're doing.
That's exciting. I've
and
never
here
been
it
there
comes.
yet.
Oh, it's a really fun, it's a really nice place. You can look them up online. So in well, December, we're doing inspirations trees. So these are little trees made out of paper bags. We did this at my house. I don't know, Julia, if you were there.
I was.
Anyway, so it's a little tree made out of paper bags. We're going to paint them with sparkly paint, and then on them we will be hanging. Let's see, can you see that? A white thing against a white background, not a good idea. Hanging little sayings of inspiration,
Oh,
for yourself, or if you want to give it, to others. So that's in December. That's on December 3rd.
My
And then
birthday. I'm
yes,
so sad I
happy
won't
birthday.
be here. I'll be on vacation.
Yeah,
Darn.
I
In the
wanted to
sun.
darn.
invite you then. January, this is one of my favorite projects for the new year. We're doing origami books. You can see this is 2 sections of a book. Let's see now. There's 1. Turn it over. 2. And that's so people can see it. So the theme is ditch resolutions, give yourself permissions.
Oh, I love
So,
it.
I mean,
Yeah.
really, who,
I
who
love
keeps
that.
resolutions, and it's so much more fun to give yourself permission and easier to do at any rate. And
Wow.
so we're going to make these booklets looking forward, looking back. You can look
Cool.
back on the year and see what would you like to do differently, not judgmentally, um, and or looking forward, what are your hopes? What's something that you might like to be careful not to repeat? Just doing that. And so we'll do that.
That
And
is
part
so
of,
exciting.
oh, good. Well, that's going to be January 14th. These are both Sunday afternoons um, in the wintertime. Yeah.
Okay. And can people get on the schedule for that or sign up for that on your website?
Yes, you can register either with me on my website, and or you can just get in touch with me over email. And it's kind of a long address, but hopefully it's easy to remember. Enhanced Wellbeing AK.
At
Enhanced Wellbeing.
gmail.com.
right, at gmail.com. And I have a website and you can contact me through there. And if you're interested in meeting individually, we'll keep in touch. And when I get a space together or, we can see what we can arrange. So,
Excellent.
thanks for hanging in there with me. And what
Yeah.
a wonderful opportunity this is. What a wonderful opportunity to visit and to share and to really demonstrate how wonderful this process is. So thank you so much. And I hope to hear from you and anybody out there in Cyberland.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you so much.
We do have a final question for you that we ask all of our guests at the end of the show.
Oh,
And that is, what does the word redemption mean to you?
well, let's see. I have to think about that for a moment. When someone says redemption, what comes to mind is some kind of forgiveness, also an element of having made a mistake, maybe done something wrong. So it's very interesting for me to contemplate that. But redemption can be a release of being freed from. I think one of the words that I think of in this process of expressive art therapy is liberation, that it liberates people from the burdens of guilt and shame. So that's what comes to
beautiful.
mind.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Alice, so much for coming on the show. This was so
Thank
fun
you.
and a great way to start my Monday morning.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Absolutely.
And me too.